Welcome into another week, another episode of the Gridiron Grind. 3-3, Jimmy G.
Hey.
Not the best of weeks.
Mm-mm.
Horns lose. Hogs lose, but cover. Cowboys lose, blow a big lead, and me and you each go 2-3 in our picks.
I knew it was going to be bad when we all. Sounds a weird thing to say, but I knew it was going to be bad.
You knew it was going to be bad what?
I knew it was going to be bad when we almost won the game.
Oh, yeah. I tried to tell you. I didn't know, but I was a little worried because of, look at it, bounce back after losing to Liberty. You got LSU at home. It's an 11 o'clock kick. LSU, after the huge win against Alabama, it just screamed letdown to me.
Well, it was a letdown.
And I'm taking 2 picks this week that are kind of that same scenario.
Excited.
So we'll get to it when we get to picks. Got to bounce back. Me and you bouncing back. I mean, we're still hot. I'm 34-24 on the year, and you're 32-27 on the year. So
yeah.
We're both still in the positive.
Still in the positive.
Bounce back. Have a big week this week. Let's start off talking about the Cowboys. I was a little mad about that loss. I was a little mad about that one. They blew it against the Packers. Had a 2-touchdown lead in the fourth quarter. I know it's on the road, but you just can't lose those games.
No, and especially to that Packers team that looks terrible.
I mean, you just gave life back to Aaron Rodgers and the Packers.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm just like, and you know what really behind my gears is when I say I don't like Aaron Rodgers, that's the same reason I don't like Tom Brady, right? Like, those guys are just good. They don't play for my.
Yeah.
I don't like Aaron Rodgers. He's probably going to retire and he just got us. And I'm like, this was our year to really get back. Dez caught it, Jared Cook catch on the sideline, all that. This was our chance, and we had it. Ready to stomp them, and it'd be fine, and it'd mean something. No, nothing. He does what Aaron Rodgers does.
Yeah,
sick of it.
I mean, he's a cowboy killer. And I really think Mike McCarthy let his emotions get the best of him in this game. And that's probably why I'm so upset about it. I mean, he was very emotional. And in overtime, who goes for it in that situation? You don't go for it. Now, if he gets it, we end up scoring a touchdown and the game's over, everybody's thinking, what a call. But the risk reward, I think, is just not there. And I think his emotions, he didn't want to lose to the Packers. I think he was emotional about it. I think he made an emotional decision to go for it. We don't get it. And, of course, they go down, kick a field goal, game's over. And I think Mike McCarthy was very emotional. And I think it cost us in fourth quarter and overtime.
I think it did too. That was they said it last year when him. They said, the knock. They admitted. They said, you sit at home. You're McCarthy. What have you listened to? You ruined Aaron Rodgers' career, basically. More. You didn't go for it enough. What's he do? What's the one thing that he has done that Red J didn't do? He goes for it all the time, right?
Yeah.
You talk to those guys, they're like, yeah, it's because he had to sit at home while he's unemployed. Listen to how he never went for it. He goes for it all the time, right? So that's another thing. He's emotional being back there in Lambeau. To him, I get it. Your ex, you're at the same bar, you want to do whatever, right? I get it, Mike. You want to do it, but golly, man, you just flat on your face.
Yeah, and when you go for it, win, no one says nothing.
Right.
But I just think the risk and reward, you just kick a field goal and you hold them. Worst case, you just got to hold them to field goal. And with the shortened overtime, it's only 10 minutes, and we got the ball first. If we can just hold them to a field goal and it's still tied, the chances are we can have the ball back without giving it back to the Packers and have a chance to get in field goal range and kick a game winner. And with our defense, I'm always going to err on the side of them. Hey, let's kick a field goal here. And worst case, let's hold them to at least a field goal, and then we can have a chance. So I just think he was too emotional, got the best of him. And then on top of that, either a good thing or some will see a missed opportunity. The Eagles lose to the Commanders Sunday night, and so we don't lose any ground on the Eagles, but we could have, when you're up 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, we could have gained a game on them.
Mm-hmm.
But so at least we didn't lose any ground on them. But I was looking at the Eagles' next 6 games. Okay, and I don't think they're playing their best football. They've had some close ones. Now they did beat Dallas, but they have in the 4 of their next 6 games are on the road, including 3. They have 3 road games in a row. So they go at the Colts. Hey, the Colts, they got a new interim coach. They're hot. They won last week. You don't know. The Eagles are at the Colts. But then they're home against the Packers and Titans. Well, the Packers still have Aaron Rodgers, and they just did that to us.
Mm-hmm.
And the Titans are leading their division and just went toe-to-toe with the Chiefs. So those are 2 tough home games. And then they have 3 road games in a row. At the Bears, at the Giants, at the Cowboys. So I could see Philadelphia going 3-3 in that stretch, which would give them 4 losses. And the Cowboys 3 losses. It makes these next 2 games for the Cowboys very important. That loss to the Packers doesn't sting so bad if the Cowboys can bounce back, win at Minnesota this week, and beat the Giants on Thanksgiving. But that's a big if. Vikings are hot right now. Beat the Bills, and then won late the week before. You got, Kirk Thuggins is cool now. So the Vikings are hot. I'd rather beat the Packers. They're not as good, but if we can bounce back, beat the Vikings, and beat the Giants on Thanksgiving, all will be forgiven. But it's a big if.
Yeah, he's the white Dak Prescott, and he's got his team playing. And they're the most. I think they're the most dangerous team in the NFL right now. Definitely the hottest. That Bills game. I mean, that's kind of a bad there on that fumble.
Yeah,
but still,
I mean they kind of got lucky.
Jefferson
Jefferson
won it.
makes that 4th and 18 catch where the Bills kind of halfway helped him catch it. Then they needed the Bills to fumble a quarterback sneak. So I mean they have gotten kind of lucky, but they're winning.
But still, that happens to teams. When it's a special season. Go back to their last special season. Sure. Saints. I don't know what that dude in the secondary was doing. Let Diggs go up and just catch. He's probably worried about defenseless receiver penalty. But look what happens there. Luck, like I said, luck has a lot to do with it when you're talking about special seasons. So, yeah, I was had we beat the Packers, I'd be more excited about playing the Vikings, especially the way I'm especially not excited to play the Vikings after the way just gashed us. What I would consider our front seven is the best part of our defense.
Yeah.
Diggs is, but that's about it in our secondary. But our front seven, I thought, was the winner. And Aaron Jones marched into the end zone. He might as well have been Marshawn Lynch.
So I watched I forgot who it was, but it was a video on Twitter. One of the insiders I follow, where they do a breakdown, and they broke. It was like a 7-minute video breaking down why the Packers had so much success running the football against our defense. And the answer was Cowboys did not set an edge the entire game. And once the Packers figured that out, it was just off tackle. It was like stretch plays off tackle. And it just video after video, whether it was Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence, whoever was on the edge, they were just getting driven back or getting pushed inside. They weren't setting the edge, and we were just giving them 5 to 10 yards, and then if there were cutback lanes, you got more. So that was the deal. So hopefully the Cowboys see that and like, all right, we got to make an adjustment immediately. For a professional football team that's pretty good on defense, shouldn't be a tough. I mean, that's number one. You learn that first year tackle football. Hey, how do you stop the run? Penetration and setting the edge. You can't let them have the corner. You let them have the corner, they're just going to outrun everybody.
Right.
You got to get penetration, and you got to set the edge.
And you're right. We didn't do that, and a couple times got far. They're getting like too far upfield. I'm just sitting here going. I mean, just like you said, this is kind of football 101 stuff. you
Yeah.
know, and but just on the ground through, like I said, what I thought was the meat and potatoes of our defense. Cook going to do? I tell you what he's going to do if we don't make any adjustments. He's going to
Yeah.
run for a buck 50, 3 scores.
Well, I hope they make the adjustment. It's still Kirk Cousins. His new name's Kurt Thuggins, but
Yeah, so
I'd really hopefully he tries to make him beat us. We can stop the run, but I'm like you, it's a little disappointed watching the Packers run the ball like that on us. All right, it's a big one for the Cowboys. Eagles lost one, so we're in third. 2 games behind the Eagles, 1 game behind the Giants. Ain't worried about the Giants. We'll take care of them on Thanksgiving. Transitioning over to college football. I was in Austin Saturday night. Heck of an atmosphere. The Texas offense did not show up. Jimmy, TCU might be for real because their one knock on the TCU team was their defense had been lackluster. They score a lot of points. They outscore everybody. They come from behind. Their defense was average in every sense of the word coming into that game. Average. Average run defense. I mean, they didn't do nothing spectacular. They were just average at everything going into that game. And I sat there and watched that they ran 3 down linemen. They had 2 linebackers and 3 safeties. Is the defense they ran. And they ran man coverage on the outside, and they would bring those safeties down. And I watched them absolutely. Texas would go 5 linemen, 2 tight ends, so 7 blockers, and Texas could not move them. I mean, it was constant, just stonewalling those 3 guys. Then they'd bring a safety down and a linebacker, and they freed up number 57, the linebacker that transferred from Navy, and Texas could not run the football. And
how many rushing yards did Bijan have?
he had 29,
Mm.
career low. He had more against Arkansas last year than he had against TCU. Now, part of that, he only had 12 carries. I think Steve Sarkisian, granted, you weren't able to run the football, but he didn't stick with it at all. He just said, that ain't happening. I think, especially since it was a close game the whole game, until they ended up getting a 2-touchdown lead, and then Texas scored a defensive touchdown late. But I think for the best running back, who's a number 5 prospect in the NFL draft coming up, he can't have 12 carries in a game like that, especially when your offense is struggling. Even if you can't run the ball, I think you got to stick with it. But I'll tell you what, hats off to the TCU defense. They were confused. Quinn Ewers was confused all night. I mean, he was rattled. They made him look bad. The Texas offense had been running the ball on everybody, pushing everybody around lately, getting better and better running the football, and that TCU defense shows up. TCU might be for real. They got 2 regular season games left. I think they got a tough one this week on the road at Baylor. Then they finish up at home. I forget somebody they should definitely beat. I want to say maybe Iowa State, but man, they might be for real. They got a legit chance. They run the table, they're in.
I think so too. That's what we've said all along, man. If they run the table, they're in, and I think they should be in. They run the table, go on and win the Big 12 championship. Yeah, it is. State. They're road against Baylor. They finish up in Fort Worth against Iowa State. Go in the Big 12 championship. I think I think that is, and I think they're going to be the 4th team.
Well, not even that. Right now they have Ohio State 2, Michigan 3, and obviously they play each other the Saturday after Thanksgiving. So one of them will lose. So if TCU wins out, TCU will be the 3rd team. They'll be the 3 seed. Because
You'll be the 3 seed.
So let's say Michigan wins. I think Michigan wins, but either way, it doesn't matter. So Michigan be the 2, undefeated. Georgia 1, Michigan 2, TCU would be 3 if they went out. And then you'd have number 4 is either going to be a collection of teams. I mean, Tennessee, USC, Clemson.
I think it's a nightmare if Michigan beats Ohio State. Now you're going, okay, well, it's State better than Tennessee.
Yeah,
I
and
don't
then that's
know.
what happens. So then you got Ohio State would have
Ohio
one
State
loss.
better than
Tennessee would
USC.
have one loss.
Right.
The crazy thing is if TCU does not go undefeated, if they go undefeated, it's easy. They're in. But if they don't go undefeated, and let's just say you have Georgia goes undefeated and winner of Michigan, Ohio State goes undefeated. So those two are in. Let's say Michigan. So you have Georgia 1, Michigan 2. Then you'd have like 5 or 6 one-loss teams to fill 2 spots. Tennessee would be undefeated or have one loss. TCU theoretically would have one loss. Ohio State, if they lost to Michigan, would have one loss. Clemson would have one loss. USC could have one loss. And my question would be in that scenario, which I think is the most likely scenario, who gets in? Are you going to have 2 SEC schools and 2 Big Ten schools? Is it going to be Georgia 1, Michigan 2, Tennessee 3, Ohio State 4?
I think so. I think it also depends. TCU loses. I think if they lose in the regular season, I don't even think it's close. I don't think they're in the. I think they should be, but I don't think they'd get in. If they lose in the Big 12 championship game, uh, I think they're going to be more and so in the discussion. And
I
I think it
disagree.
all.
I think it'd be the other way because, like, the one thing Tennessee doesn't have is not going to have an SEC championship, conference championship.
Right.
But if Tennessee or TCU did have a conference champ, at least you could say, well, we have that over TCU.
I think also depend who wins that Ohio State Michigan game.
Yeah.
I think they have a better chance to get in with a loss if Michigan loses than if Ohio State loses.
I agree with that. I think the resume stacks up better against Michigan than it does against Ohio State. Also, say what you want, but these are humans making the decision. I think it matters that Ohio State has been in it a lot. And
100%.
I think they don't want to have. I mean, when it comes down to it, Ohio State or Tennessee or TCU, I think they want Ohio State.
All day.
Done it
Tell
before,
you.
bigger school.
Yep. What did I tell you the year that they got in from the they number 6 spot,
Yeah.
number 5 spot? No, it was number 6, wasn't it? I said,
Yeah,
they're
they
going to
jumped
get
TCU.
in.
It was in 14 when they won it all.
Yeah.
They jumped TCU and they jumped Baylor.
I said, Trey, they're going to get in because they're Ohio State. And I said, if they get in, they're championship.
And then they got in that one year. They didn't play for the Big Ten championship. Penn State won in, what was that, 15 or 16? But Penn State had 2 losses. And they put Ohio State in, even though Penn State beat Ohio State, but Ohio State only had 1 loss.
Yep. See, and that should tell you it just more so drives the point home. Now, it's an ugly truth, right?
Yeah.
It's just one of the about life is that Ohio State is worth more, whatever you want to call it, in all the things that matters except for wins and losses at the time of the season. Yeah. Ohio State is going to get the nod over TCU every time.
Yeah.
Why schools like TCU have to win, they have to go undefeated.
And I think Tennessee's a lock, almost a lock at this point, because I think Tennessee deserves to be in over the loser of Michigan, Ohio State, because Tennessee has beat Alabama. Alabama's in the top 10, and they beat LSU. LSU's in the top 10. So I think Tennessee is by far the most deserving and the best one-loss team.
And we talked about it. Here's an even worse scenario: is if Georgia loses you in the SEC championship game,
loses LSU. So
now Georgia, what are you going to do?
I don't know, because Georgia's got to be in.
Yeah.
And so then
what do you do with LSU?
Does it come down to LSU versus Tennessee? It's like, what will they value more? LSU has a conference championship, but Tennessee beat them head-to-head. And Tennessee would have 1 less loss.
Yeah, so that's the ultimate. That's why every coach tells you.
I still think, I've always said this, Tennessee would still have to get in because I think head-to-head has to matter.
I think it does.
What's the point? I mean, they've already played it out. Tennessee beat them in Baton Rouge. Tennessee won.
Yeah.
So I think head-to-head has to matter.
And that's why every coach tells you, got to win the games on your schedule, and everything will work out.
Exactly.
And nightmare.
That is a nightmare.
LSU beats Georgia.
I think Georgia, Tennessee would get in over LSU. in my opinion, or at least that's what I would do if I had a vote.
I think Georgia would go down a couple spots, you know, maybe to
Yeah,
4,
I think the
drop them to
Michigan,
4.
I
But
think the Michigan Ohio State winner would get in, would be the number one.
mhm.
But interesting. Still got 2 weeks regular season left, and then
Yeah,
of
a
course
lot can happen.
conference championship. A lot can happen. A lot can happen. I mean, there could be upsets. There's no telling. Only 2 ranked versus ranked matchups this weekend. Both happening in the Pac-12. The Pac-12 gets shaked out this weekend.
Mhm.
You got number 7 USC at number 16 UCLA. USC is a 3-point favorite on the road. Number 10 Utah and number 12 Oregon. Oregon's a 3-point favorite. Oregon, of course, lost at home last week to Washington. Last thing to play. And UCLA, one of the worst losses you could have, lost at home last week to Arizona. Yeah, 2-win Arizona. So that's both home teams in these scenarios lost last week at home. But there's also some really big traditional matchups that are not ranked first ranked. Like Ohio or Oklahoma State is at Oklahoma. Oklahoma's favored by a touchdown. TCU's at Baylor. TCU's only favored by 2.5, 3 points. Illinois, who's been ranked, but they've lost 2 in a row now. Illinois plays Michigan. I feel like Michigan will roll them, but so some
Mhm.
big matchups this week, even though it's not ranked first ranked. So that Pac-12, it's going to be the two best of those. So if USC wins, they're in. Beats UCLA, they're in. Oregon wins, they're in. Utah and UCLA, they could still get in. I mean, it's just the Pac-12 has just been a super competitive conference. So those 2 night games I'm really looking forward to winning or watching. Um, so, but with that being said, I'm ready to do picks. If you are,
I'm ready. I got some of these games in my picks as
I
well.
did too.
So,
I did too. I got. I
and I
got.
like this slate this week. I
It's gonna
like
be a
my
fun
picks this
day. It's
week.
gonna be a fun day
I
watching
think
some
so
football.
too.
First one, I'm gonna start it off. I went back and forth on this one, but I'm gonna go with it. It's 11 o'clock game. Baylor was at home, got upset by Kansas State last week. Kansas State beat the brakes off of them, 31-3.
Mhm.
TCU on the road, huge win over Texas. Defense shut them down. Now TCU goes an 11 o'clock game at Baylor. Baylor might have been looking ahead to TCU for all we know. Baylor's trying to bounce back. TCU's got 2 road games in a row. And when you have 2 road games in a row with no bye in between, it's like 72% chance you're going to lose at least one of those. Well, TCU beat Texas on the road last week. They're on the road to Baylor, 11 o'clock game. I think it's a bit of a trap game. I think that's why it's only like a +3 spread. So I'm going to take a stab in the dart. It's kind of tough the way TCU looked last week because they might be for real. I'm just gonna play. I'm gonna play the. It's like a general principle. I'm gonna play it. They have a high chance of losing at least one of back-to-back road games. So I'm taking Baylor at home +3. If it's 2.5 by the half point, Baylor at home +3 hosting TCU.
Okay. Right out of the gate with some fire. I like it.
Yeah, I mean that's gonna be a hold your butt special because it's one of those. I'm taking it. Not gonna feel great about it, but see what happens. Maybe it's the letdown we're looking for. Everybody's hoping TCU will have. Maybe it's against Baylor at 11 o'clock.
Yeah. Me, I'm starting out kind of the same way I did last week. Ole Miss -2.5 against the Hogs. I'm still this Liberty game. I also think Ole Miss is on a mission, and I think Ole Miss is good enough to beat us. Good enough to beat us by 3 or more. And so, even though it's at home, KJ said he wasn't going to play. It's injuries, a big quarterback, physical part of it. He's got to be 100% to be completely effective. So, I think I think you go Ole Miss -2.5 against the Hogs.
Interesting. Ole Miss, I felt like should have beat Alabama last week, and Arkansas had every opportunity to beat LSU. So both teams coming off close losses where they felt like they probably should have won. Jimmy took out a second mortgage LSU at Arkansas last week, so he should
Yeah, and
bounce back with a third mortgage.
yeah, Double or nothing.
Gotta
Two
get it back.
mortgages,
Double or nothing.
four mortgages or nothing.
All right. Next game. West Virginia is at home. West Virginia is a way better team at home. I gave it out in coffee with Creta. West Virginia was +8 at home against Oklahoma. They got the outright win. West Virginia is hosting Kansas State. Kind of the same philosophy. Kansas State, back-to-back road games. They went to Baylor last week, beat Baylor on the road. Now they go to West Virginia. West Virginia is like a completely different team at home. What did I just say? 73% chance when you have back-to-back road games, you're going to lose at least one of those. Well, Kansas State just won that one against Baylor. Now they're over a touchdown favorite at West Virginia. So I'm going to take – and West Virginia, the only game they lost was TCU, and they should have covered that, but Duggan threw a touchdown on like 4th and 2 when he could have took a knee. Either way, I'm going to take West Virginia hosting Kansas State +7.5.
I like it. 70% of the time, it works every time.
Yes, sir.
My next one, I'm going UTSA, and this is a big one, -13. It's the Rice Owls in Houston. UTSA coming off a big win against 51-7. Rice coming off a big loss against Western Kentucky 5-10. I think UTSA, well, I know UTSA is the way better team. Trailers got the boys, got the road runners running, and I think they run all over the Rice. Battle of the Birds. Roadrunners win. Give me UTSA -13 again.
It's a big game for Rice. Rice is trying to make a bowl game. They need one more win, I think.
Yeah, it ain't coming against.
I don't think
UTSA.
it's happening against meat Roadrunners. So, good pick. UTSA. I mean, Jeff Traylor. What a guy. What a guy.
Yeah.
My third one. Staying in the Big 12. Actually, my first 4 games are Big 12 games. Kansas hosting Texas. Kansas getting 9 points to host Texas. Texas, road struggles. I mean, they've been well documented. They did beat Kansas State, but the temperature is going to be super cold. They are in the last 4 trips to Lawrence, Kansas. Texas is 1-3 against the spread. And even at home, they've only in the last 10, Texas is 2-7-1 against the spread in the last 10 games against Kansas. So Texas just doesn't cover the spread usually against Kansas. Even harder for them on the road. Kansas can really run the football. Texas has been great at stopping the run. But this Neal kid, I think he's had over 150 yards 3 games in a row. Evan Neal, the running back for Kansas. I feel like this is a touchdown game either way. I think 9 is just too much. Kansas on the road, especially with Texas's road struggles. And it's going to be cold, and it could be snowing. And Steve Sarkisian, he tends to, in close games, abandon the run. I mean, Bijan Robinson only had 12 carries last week. So I could see him thinking, hey, I wonder if anyone's ever thrown it 50 times in the snow. That's something Steve Sarkisian would probably try.
You see it.
He'd probably go 15 of 50.
You got the right guy.
Yeah, so I think Kansas +9 hosting Texas is a great pick. So I'm taking Kansas +9.
I'm going to mirror that pick as well. I took Kansas +9 at home for the reasons you said. On the road, not a very good road coach. +9. The Jayhawks fired up because they're going to want to beat Texas. Yeah. Texas, like Alabama, Georgia, all these get everyone's day game.
Yep.
And I think Kansas, we know it offensively. They're averaging 37 points a game.
Yep.
That's pretty good. I'm +9 at home as well.
Yeah, I like it. My fourth one, another Big 12 game. Iowa State hosting Texas Tech. Texas Tech came through for me last week, but Texas Tech has not won a game on the road all year. They're 0-4 on the road, and they really haven't been close, any of them. They're just a different team. Iowa State, this quarterback they have, is really coming to his own. They've really struggled to run the ball, but they throw the ball a lot with this Deckers kid. His only problem has been interceptions, but he averages less interceptions when he's at home, obviously. He has more his completion percentage is like 8% higher when he's at home. He throws on average one less interception a game at home. Texas Tech hasn't won a road game all year. And the way Iowa State played Oklahoma State close. I mean, they're playing better football, and Iowa State has to win out to make a bowl game. So I'm going to take Iowa State -3 at home hosting Texas Tech.
I like it. Stay in the Big 12, and I'm going to Bedlam. Oklahoma State versus Oklahoma. It's in Norman. Give me Okie Light +1.5. I think this is the type of game where Oklahoma State comes ready to play. Spencer Sanders go out on top. Oklahoma coming off that loss to West Virginia. Oklahoma escapes Iowa State, and I think Oklahoma State takes care of business. I think I may put a little more on the money line too. I think Oklahoma State game, but give me the points +7.5 in Bedlam.
Here's a little nugget for you for that game that's in your favor. Oklahoma has a worse winning percentage at home this year than they do on the road.
Oh.
I think they're 3-2 at 3-2 on the road or at home, and I think they're 2-0 on the road maybe because their Texas was a neutral game.
Mm-hmm. So, they lost with. They won at Iowa State.
2-1, 2-1. So they're 3-2 at home. I know that Oklahoma's 3-2 at home.
I think Oklahoma State gets it done. I may put a little.
Or that's what the nugget is. That's what it is. They give up a touchdown more at home. Oklahoma gives up a touchdown more at home than they do on the road.
I like it. Give me Okie Light.
Worse defense at home. That's the nugget. Oklahoma. Okay, I like it. My last one's one of the Pac-12 games. Again, USC, a different team on the road. They only have one loss this year, and that was at Utah, which was a great game, and Utah won going for 2. They also played Oregon State on the road. Should have lost that game. So USC is a different team on the road. I think UCLA, yes, they lost to Arizona at home last week. I can tell you why. I didn't watch the game. UCLA, Chip Kelly was looking forward to this game. That Arizona game meant nothing. They could afford to lose one. This is the game. The LSU, Crosstown Showtown. This is the game for UCLA. That's why they lost to Arizona. They overlooked them. Looking ahead to USC. I'm going to take the home team, getting points. What's better than that? UCLA +3 hosting USC.
I, too, am staying in the Pac-12 with one of those big. Mine is Utah at Oregon. I think Oregon's been hot. And they ran into Washington. And I'm like, that. Me, I don't know if like we say about teams, I don't know if they were looking ahead or not, but I know that's not a good look. Not a good look. I know Utah offensively is rolling. They're putting up in the 4-2 games. They just beat Stanford 42-7. Utah +3. Utah can win this game outright, and I think Utah, at least if they lose, I think it's a close. Give me Utah +3 in this game.
I like that. And what's crazy is I had that one written down for my 6. That was the last one I crossed. I like to have 5, so I have a winning record. Hopefully, go 3-2, if not 4-1 or 5-0. But that would have been my 6th one. So I love Utah. The only problem they've had, their 2 losses are both on the road, at Florida and at UCLA. But they're physical. They run the ball. They get in heavy sets, run the ball. They do play action, take play action shots, and they play good against the run. And, I think Washington was able, Penix had a great game. He threw 400-something yards for Washington last week. So, should be a good one. That's going to be great. The 2 Pac-12 games, can't wait to watch those. Both at night. Like, one's at 6:30, one's at 8:30. Looking forward to watching both of them. USC at UCLA and Utah at Oregon. So, the Pac-12's finally back. They been really bad for like 5 years, but
yeah.
They're good. They're good this year. I'd say the ACC's taken over as the worst conference.
Yeah, the ACC is not good.
Not good. Even though Clemson, you have two one-loss teams, Clemson and North Carolina, and the other teams are so bad they've already locked up. So it'll be Clemson, North Carolina in the ACC championship. Rest of them still, and then SEC will be Georgia LSU.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't LSU lock that up?
Yeah, LSU locked it up by beating us and when Bama beat Ole Miss.
Yeah, so it'll be Georgia LSU. So those two conferences are settled. Pac-12 will be settled, basically be settled after. At least one team will be settled. Big 12, TCU's already in. The Big 10 West, we don't know. We don't know. We got kids on the loose here.
You get some feral kids running
Feral
around.
kids running around.
You left your back door open, man.
Yeah, they snuck in on me. Big 10 will be Ohio State, Michigan, and then whoever. It's like a four-way tie for the Big 10 West. It's wild.
Yeah, I mean it's exciting at this time, the most exciting times of the year and this season in particular, because I mean think about we could be talking this show next week. We could be talking about in the Pac that could be pretty wild, and then leading up to all the conference championship games, and then after that could be wild. I mean these final weeks of the season are always pretty.
Best. And then that's when the NFL really gets cooking.
Mm-hmm.
NFL Thanksgiving to the end of the regular season. I mean, it's just every game. You could tell every game is just so important because of playoff pictures. So it's the best time for football. The beginning and then Thanksgiving till the end. So right November to the end. So another show in the books. We're looking to bounce back 2-3 apiece. Yep. 4-6 as a show is not going to get it done. 40%. I think we bounce back. I think we at least go 70% between the two of us.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good week. I think we got the potential 4-1, 5-0 week type week. Yeah,
would love it. All right, Jimmy. Another show in the books. It's going to be a great weekend of football. Need the Cowboys to bounce back. Horns and Hogs. Even though you're kind of rooting against the Hogs, and we're both rooting against the Horns. So maybe if the Horns and Hogs are going to lose, at least we're going to profit off of it.
That's right. You're going to pay me.
You're going to pay me. Watch us lose. So, All right. Another show in the books. Check us out on YouTube, and we'll see you next week.
See you.
See you, Jimmy.
See you.